Hello brothers and sisters, welcome to another episode here on Dangerous African Confessions HD. In this episode, we have a story from one of our brothers, who shares with us his life story, and how he was tricked into sacrificing his own mother for money rituals. He tells us this story so that our young guys out there will be mindful of the life that they engage themselves in. In this confession, our brother tells us about how his friend asked him to come with him to the city to search for greener pastures, but then ended up doing things that he never imagined he would ever do in his entire life. He reveals to us how he managed to make money after he has been tricked into thinking that what he was doing was a mere initiation into the fraternity that will bring him wealth at the end of the day. He again reveals to us about his state of mind, and how he can't even sleep at night due to the constant torment of the things he has done. He said that he wanted to share his life experience with you, our lovely followers, so that if anyone among us wants to be in such groups and acts, he should have a second thought. Because he said, all is not rosy as we might think. Without taking much of your time, let us go and listen to her story. Don't forget to please subscribe, share and like our videos. Kindly hit the notification bell so you will be the first to get notification to our videos when we upload.
Hello brother, how are you? I believe everything is fine with you and your listeners as well. I would like to share with you my life story, so that you use it as a means to talk to my fellow young guys, to be very careful when it comes to how one starts to be obsessed with making money. Many young guys are being lured and tricked into making sacrifices that goes a long way to hurt them, and even their families. I am not here to judge anyone, but I am only here to share my own story of how I was tricked into sacrificing my own mother for money rituals. Let me tell you, my brother, something about my life and that of my family before I go into how this whole thing that I find myself in. My beautiful mother had 3 children, which I happen to be the firstborn. We are such a family that loves each other so much that there is nothing about one that the others do not know. Because of this, even though we do not have money, we were very happy with the very little that we had. Amongst my siblings is one lady and a guy besides me. My father had died long ago and there was nothing much that he left us to live on. So, everything about our lives has been we fighting these storms of life and trusting that everything will be well in the coming future. We will continue to go out and search for jobs to do and earn by day so that we can have something to eat. Even in this phase, we loved and cared for each other, and never tried to live a good life at the expense of others. I had a son and my mother was more like his mother, because I and my younger brother would go out and search for money to feed the family. I and his mother went our separate ways after we realized that we were not compatible and there was nothing that we could do to make our relationship work. For that reason, she gave our son to me that she wasn't going to have him by her, because he was going to distract her living the life that she wanted to live. Because of that, my mother asked her to bring her my son. And since then, my son has been with us all this while. I remember, there was this time that my friend returned to our hometown for some annual festival that we have in our hometown. And after everything, he visited me and we had a lengthy conversation about how life was treating me in our place. My friend, on the other hand, really looked good and it was obvious he was living a good time. So, he made me a promise that he would try and help me secure some work in the city so I can also come and see how it will go for me. Even though he had not done this, I was extremely happy to hear that from him. So, before he left for the city after the festival, he gave me some amount of money that, to be honest, sustained us for some time. So it made me to wonder how rich my friend was. Back in school, I was more brilliant than he was, and I happened to be doing his works for him, especially when it came to mathematics. So, we did have that bond. But everyone in our school thought that I would be securing good paying job after school. And the unfortunate thing happened with my father, who died when I was about to write my senior high exams. This thing that happened changed everything for me and my life. I had to abandon my dream and focus on helping my family, since I was now the father to them all. My friend, after about a month, called me and told me about a job that he had gotten for me. I told my family about it and I made my preparations to go to the city and try that too. So, on that note, I left my hometown to the city for the first time in my life. I had never stepped foot in the city before. So, my friend came to meet me and took me to where he was living. At first, he didn't tell me that we were going to his house. It was when we had gotten inside and one boy in the house referred to him as boss that brought my attention to it. So, that evening, I asked him who owns the house and laughed till he finally told me that he owns the house. I was shocked to hear that coming from him. This house that I am talking about looks like a house meant for the high in the society. And how in the world would my friend be able to acquire such a property? This house was very expensive and looking beautiful. I spent about 3 days and he took me to the place where he had told me there was a vacancy. I was to work for 2 days and then come on a break for 1 day and then go to work the next 2 days again. I started working, and when I was giving my payment, my friend laughed at me and asked me when I would be able to do something for my mother with that kind of payment. So I asked him what I should do if he seems not to like the payment. He told me to continue with the work whilst he tries to get me something that will be able to sustain me and will enable me to push something to my family. He likes going out and clubbing every weekends, especially Saturdays. But I was always in the house when it was weekends whilst he goes out. He then started inviting me to come over with him to the club. One thing that I noticed was that whenever we would go to the club, all his friends that will come over would be wearing this black top and black down. It was more like something that was their normal wear that they put on. And when it comes to his friends, the cars that you will see them driving is mind-blowing. Top-tier cars are the ones you will always see them driving. After the club, I would go on with my work the following week, and that was how I was surviving small. Even though my friend was someone who was giving me more than I was even earning at the end of the month. So what I was doing was that I would be sending what he was giving me to the family back home. And I would be using my pay from the work that I was doing. Since food and everything was just always plenty in his house. He had still not told me of what he was into, and how he had gotten so much money to be owning such a mansion. Anytime I brought the question of how he made his money, he always seemed a bit quiet and then would break off the silence and tell me that he would tell me. He said that the day he would tell me is coming, and that day I will no longer be dependent upon him. But I will be my own boss. For I should relax because he was preparing himself to help me push into becoming like him. I really believed everything he told me. Because, back in the days when we were in school, whatever he promises you, he will make sure he delivers. And I had known him to be someone who always see to it that his promises are met. One evening I had returned from work and he decided to have a conversation with me. He told me that, from the next month going, he would let me stop working. So I asked him what I would be doing then. He then told me that he will introduce me to his people, who will from that period will tell me what to do next from that moment on. I didn't understand, and so I asked him who those people are. He told me that they have formed a group who see to it that each of their members are well taken care of and are connected in terms of business. So, I asked him what kind of business did they help him with. He then told me to wait till the next day and he would take me to his workplace. To my surprise, when we went to the place the following day, my friend had this cement distribution company to himself. I was really shocked to what I saw. He then asked me to follow him to the other ones that he owns. I was shocked to realize that the place that I worked also belonged to him. If this is his own, why then didn't he tell me from the word go? When we returned back home, I wanted to know more about how he made so much money. He told me to relax, for the people he wants to introduce me to, I will start a better life from that point. It seemed as though he had a lot to tell me. But it seemed as he didn't know if I could handle it. I did sense that, but I could not place exactly what that was. The day came and we got into his car in the morning. He told me that he was taking me to meet the people he told me about. So we set off from the house around 8 a.m. in the morning thereabout. We drove so many hours and I began to ask him where exactly we were going. He told me that those people are not ordinary people who do their things in the open. He said that they have their center in the northern border of the country. And he told me to come down, because there was no way he would lead me into something that is not fruitful. We got to this place around 5 to 6 p.m. in the evening, but then, it wasn't even the place where we were going. And so, we took another route through the forest, and in about an hour drive we came to meet this big and tall erected wall facing us right in the face. My friend told me that, this is the place that we are coming. I then asked what was there behind that huge wall. He told me it is the temple in which they do meet every year once. He made a call, and in about 5 minutes or so, the gate of this huge wall opened and we drove through the gate of the wall. And we got to the compound. I was really shocked to see such a magnificent structure in such a forest. I began to be a bit skeptical, and when he saw me in that way, he told me not to worry, because the reason why they have their structure there was because they didn't want to attract people who are not serious in life. And they do teach secrets of making money to only the very few who are really trying and serious about life. He made me to feel like everything was normal there. So I also do has that feel of going to make it in a decent way. And so, we went inside this temple. When we entered, I saw that, inside the temple was decorated with some drawings that were mostly abstract to me. Mostly colored in black. The people that were present were all dressed in black robes, from top to down. I was ushered into the inner chambers of the temple, where I was greeted by one young man who was all dressed in black with a red belt in the middle. I saw that everyone in this inner temple had a red belt in it. And there were different colors and sizes of candles inside there. I was asked to sit down in the same way each and every one of them were sitting. They were sitting down on the floor with their legs crossed, just like the way the Hindus do sit. There were some incantations and mantras that were read repeatedly for some time. After about 10 to 15 minutes into the incantations, an old man walked in and he was dressed all red with black belt in the middle. He called my name and asked me to sit in the middle. My friend too was asked to come. He was asked several questions before they proceeded to the next thing. I remember the last question that was asked was if he can vow for me that I would never speak about them in the open and discuss anything except with their people. He said he knew the kind of person I am and can vow for me.
Don't forget to please subscribe, share and like our videos. Kindly hit the notification bell so you will be the first to get notification to our videos when we upload. Like I always say, these are not just stories for story's sake. They are meant for us not to make these mistakes our brothers and sisters are making. That's why we share these stories with you. After listening to this story, I will say that life indeed is something that no one can predict. And you can't even seem to understand what life is all about. I honestly wish the youth of these days will listen to advice. Money is important in human life, but money is not everything. I honestly think that this generation are making the love of having money leading them to make some decisions that always goes against them in the very life that they are living. I always say that, when you are desperate and you are not content with the little that you have, you are easy for the enemy to disguise as a helper, and then leads you to where you have nothing left to do again. Because the fact that you wish to have such things, any deal that will brought to you, your mind might not reason as it should. Because it has already been clouded with the beauty of having such life. I pray that we learn from some of these stories and live a better life. If not for anything at all, it pays to live a decent and better life. Stay blessed and be safe. Thanks for being a part of this growing family. Kindly share your thought with us in the comment section below. And if you are new here, please subscribe, like and share.